Hey everyone, today we are diving into a pretty radical idea, one that flips our whole understanding of law, justice, and even God completely on its head. And it all boils down to one single powerful question about where our most basic rules really come from.
Okay, let's just jump right in. This single question is the framework for this entire explainer, and it's a real challenge, right? It asks us to stop thinking from the top down, from heaven to earth, and instead to think from the ground up. So to really get to the bottom of it, we need to go back, way, way back.
We're heading to a time before commandments, before scriptures, a time before the very idea of a divine authority even existed. We're talking about a time of pure, raw, unstructured existence.
So the whole story starts here, in this kind of primordial world. It's like an empty stage, just waiting for the great drama of civilization to even begin. But don't picture a peaceful Zen-like silence. This is the unsettling kind of quiet. It's the void of the unknown, where literally anything can happen because there are no rules. This is a world without any order at all.
And this is the key. This is the engine for everything that comes next. The core human emotion that kicks this whole thing off is fear. But it's not the fear of a god. It's the fear of a world without meaning, without limits, a deep, primal terror of chaos.
So what was humanity's first move against this all-consuming fear? It wasn't art. It wasn't worship. It was something incredibly practical. It was an act of pure creation, an attempt to force some order onto a random universe. The very first things we wrote down weren't for the gods. They were for us.
So what was this early law trying to do? Well, exactly this. It was a tool. You could even think of it as a technology. It was built to make things predictable when there was no predictability. It was meant to hold back the powerful, to stop the strongest person in the room from just taking whatever they wanted. And by doing that, it created a shield, a sense of safety for the most vulnerable. It was our fortress against the storm of chaos.
All right, so humanity creates law to fight chaos. Solid plan. But that is not where the story ends. Not even close. Now we get to the next crucial step. How this very human invention goes through this massive, history-changing transformation. This is where a practical tool starts its journey to becoming sacred.
This question, right here, is the absolute heart of the whole idea. I mean, we are so used to the story of a divine power handing down laws from some mountaintop. But what if we've had it backwards this whole time? What if the voice of authority we hear from the heavens is actually just an echo of our own voice, bounced back at us?
So how in the world does a transformation like that even happen? Well, there's a key mechanism for it: sanctification. It's really just a fancy word for the process of making something holy. It's how a simple set of human rules, designed for purely practical reasons, gets lifted up into something divine, untouchable and sacred.
And here is the massive consequence of that one act. By taking our rules and calling them holy, we change what they are. They're not just practical guidelines anymore, things you can debate or update. Nope. They become timeless, absolute commands. Following the rules is no longer just a social contract. It's a sacred duty.
And you can see this wasn't just a one-time thing. The argument is that this is a universal human pattern. You see it pop up again and again, across different cultures, across thousands of years. You have Babylon carving their laws on tablets. You have Moses carrying them down a mountain. You have Rome engraving them in marble. It's the same move every time. Write down the important rules in something permanent and say they came from a higher power. So, according to this idea, every single one of these sacred laws is like a mirror. On one side, it reflects that deep, desperate need we have for order, that old fear of chaos. But if you look at the other side, it reflects a fear of something else, maybe a fear of absolute freedom, a fear of having to figure it all out for ourselves with no ultimate guidebook.
Okay, so with that idea on the table, that law is a human invention that we later made sacred, let's go back to the idea of justice. How does our whole concept of justice change if we start from that premise? This is where it all locks into place. It creates this perfect self-reinforcing loop. First, our human laws get promoted to being holy, and then whatever we decide is holy automatically becomes the law. At that point, it's pretty much impossible to see where human need ends and divine will begins. They're completely fused. So what we're left with are two totally different visions of justice. On the left, you have the traditional view. Justice comes from God, it's eternal, it's absolute, and its authority is way beyond us.
But the view we're exploring today is over on the right. Justice comes from human law, its nature is just a reflection of our own needs and fears, and its authority is only sacred because we, humanity, said it was.
And this brings us to the ultimate paradox of it all. By creating these sacred laws to rule over ourselves, we pulled off something incredible. We made ourselves the masters of our own universe, the kings who wrote the rulebook. But by making those rules sacred and eternal, we also made ourselves their prisoners, forever stuck in a system we built. We are both the judge on the bench and the one on trial.
And so, we end up right back where we started, but the question hits a lot harder now. It's not just a philosophical puzzle anymore. If this radical idea is true, that our concept of God was born from our need to make our own laws sacred, then when we fight for justice, or enforce the law, or appeal to a higher authority, whose will are we actually serving? Is it a divine command from above, or is it just the timeless echo of our own ancient fear of chaos? That's something we're thinking about.
From dust we wrote the law, and heaven still listens.